What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here. Welcome back again to my YouTube channel, this time with a video on Dissidia, Final Fantasy, Opera Omnia. So this video is going to be a start of a new series for Dissidia that I like to call The Art of. And what I'm going to be doing with this series is going over a specific character that's getting a new upgrade soon in Global Opera Omnia. So then that way you guys have an idea of how they play, what kind of characters you should be using for them, and if you want to be investing into them fully. Now, I want to give you guys a full disclosure. This is not going to be a should you pull video. I'm not trying to convince you to pull for the character. I simply just want you guys to know what the character does with their brand new upgrades and who you could potentially pair them up with. If you guys are looking for like the nitty gritty stuff like percentages and things like that, stuff that I used to go over with guides, you guys can check out several resources that I highly recommend. Tonberry Troop, Dissidia Compendium, Dissidia Database, or even other Dissidia Opera Omnia Discord servers, such as like the TCC podcast. We have Dystopia, we have the official main chord server. There's other servers out there with very knowledgeable players that can give you that data if you guys are really looking for the nitty-gritty stuff. But I decided for this one, I just want this to be straightforward, show you guys what the character does, what are their strengths, what are some ways that you could work around their weaknesses, and then that way when you guys do decide to pull for the character, then you have an idea of how they work. So my punching bag for this Art of Noel, this is going to be the Art of Noel, because we're talking about Noel for this video, is going to be Lufenia Bahamut. I just wanted to keep it simple, so that way I have an easy punching bag so I don't get any interruptions. So I took a party of Noel, I took Bartz, and I also took Kuja. Kuja is just there, honestly, for the orb, just in case I accidentally trigger it. So when Noel's turn comes around, we're gonna start talking about him. Alright, let's get that holy enchant, all that good stuff. Alright, so Noel, for those of you that don't remember, he is a DPS unit and he specializes in re-breaking. Pretty much the plus versions of his skill 1 and his skill 2 will cancel break and then re-break, so that's kind of his spiel. His LD is really strong because what it does is it gives him a buff that every time he breaks the target with pretty much any button that you press, he's going to get an additional Brave plus HP attack. So you want to make sure that LD buff is active. He does not have it active at the start of combat, so it's highly recommended that you press the LD before you do anything else with Noel. Remember, on his skill 1, he also has access to the ice and wind. This could be problematic when you're coming across against bosses that absorb either one of the elements, but it's easily rectifiable if you equip him with a call such as Onion Knight if they absorb ice, or for example Fujin if they absorb wind. So you could bypass things like that. I think I said that backwards, if anyone in the comments wants to clarify, but you guys know what I mean. So then that way you guys can kind of bypass certain elemental absorption. His EX and his BT, which is going to be his brand new skill that he's getting on global soon, both have defense ignore, so it hits pretty hard. And with the C level 90 coming around, his EX getting an upgrade makes it hit super hard. Now, something important about Noel is that you always want to have access to this Brave plus command, which is Fierce Siphon plus, because what this does is it applies a gravity effect and then it does 4 Brave hits, and if Noel breaks the target, he's going to get instant turn rate and he's also going to get his EX immediately charged. And like I said, you always want to have access to this EX as much as possible because this is a very hard-hitting EX once he gets his C90. Now, his burst effect in itself, I'm going to let you guys know that the party effects are kind of generic. He gives Brave damage cap up to the party, and then whenever you're breaking or attacking a broken target, you get the HP damage up, and you also get the Brave damage up. So it's pretty generic. There are other burst effects that do that, but the selling point for this burst effect is the self effects that he gets for himself, because what it does is while this is active, you're always going to have free access to his skill 1 and his skill 2, and it's also going to give him a 50% faster charge rate for his EX, which is powerful because you always want to be pressing that EX button as much as possible. So we're just going to go ahead and kind of play through here. So like I said, you want to start off with his LD because you want that LD buff up, and his LD does inflict break, so in case targets are broken, it's just going to break them. So then that way, as you can see right there, we have access to his, his additional attack from that LD buff. And also something to note about the LD buff is that it provides brave damage up and HP damage up, so it's very important to have that, because if you don't, his other weapons, which are his 15 CP and 35 CP, the buffs that you get from those skills, they don't provide brave damage up and HP damage up. So Noel's definitely going to want that LD. Pretty much this character being a DPS character, you're going to want full investment if you're planning on pulling for the character. Alright, so with Bartz, I put him as a partner because I like Bartz as an aura bot, so I'm just going to go right into BT for this demo. Alright. And I'm going to try to set this up to where we can get access to the Fierce Siphon, so then you guys get to see it in action. Alright, with Kuja, let's just do this. There you go. Alright, let's actually see if we can get that to happen by using his C65 here. Come on, let's... I just want you guys to see it in action, so you guys know how important it can be. There we go. Alright, so remember, you always want access to this Brave Attack++, this Fear Siphon++. It's pretty easy to have that active. Just make sure he has access to both his buffs, either from his Skill 1 or Skill 2, and his EX buff. So then that way you'll always have access to that. So here we go. And as you can see, we have his EX fully charged up, which is great. We also have free skill uses active, and now we have access to this very powerful EX, which is upgraded for his C90. Remember, this has defense ignore. It does a ton of damage now. And as you can see right there, we did some pretty significant damage with that EX, about 660k. He can actually do more depending on what kind of modifiers or what kind of a party setup you're running. But that's pretty much Noel in the spiel there. We're going to go ahead and try to get access now to his burst. And that way you guys get to see that in action. With Bartz, let's do this. I'm purposely getting 3 stacks of Bartz's burst effects so we get that insane brave refund. Okay, let's go ahead and LD with Kuja. Awesome. Alright, so let's go ahead and go into the burst effect now. So he's gonna do an insane amount of damage. It has defense ignore. Alright, with Bartz, let's just do this. Let's go ahead and press EX with Kuja here. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go right into Noel once again. So remember, when you have his burst effect active, you're going to get party brave damage cap up, and then when you're attacking or breaking a broken target, that's where you get the party brave damage up, and you also get the party HP damage up. So we're just going to go right into burst and just launch off that EX. There we go. Alright, and then remember, he also has free skill usage on his C65 as well as his skill 1 and skill 2. So if between the choice of the two, I actually would just rather, in this case, I would rather just go with the free skill usage for his skill 2. There we go. So now we have his buffs up from both his EX and as well as his either skill 1 or skill 2. Let's just go ahead and use LD. Just for the video. You can also get a refresh on that LD buff. But he's really not that difficult to play. You just have to understand how some of his skills work, you know, how his re-break works, and also making sure that you set up that Fear Siphon, which we have access to it right now. So you know what? Let's go ahead and just for the sake of the video, so you guys get to see it in action, do that again. Here we go. Oh wait, actually, you know what? I made a mistake. That does not work in the burst effect. Do not do that, guys. Again, I'm still getting used to doing this series since it's something new that I'm going to be doing, but hopefully it helps you guys out. Okay, so don't do that. Don't do that. That's an oof there on my part. But don't do Fear Siphon plus during the burst phase. It's not going to give you another access to the EX. All right. That was my bad. All right, and let's go ahead and get his burst off. That is Noel, guys. That is Noel after getting his upgrades in action. So some key things to remember about Noel. Remember, he specializes in rebreaking, and because he is a DPS unit, if you're going to be using him, he wants full investment, meaning you probably want to blue his armor. You're going to want to fully green his burst weapon, and you're probably also going to want to have, full access to the rest of his kit if you're going to be investing in this character. Remember, because his skill 1 does have access to the ice and wind imperil, just plan accordingly with specific calls if you're going to be coming across a boss that happens to absorb either one of those elements. Remember to always have that LD buff active because you get that additional Brave and HP dump as long as you have that active. And also make sure every now and then to keep his other buffs active, which are from his skill 1 and his EX. So then that way you're always going to have access to the Fear Siphon plus Brave command. Because remember, once you use that, if he's breaking the target with it, he's going to get an instant turn and he's going to have instant access to his EX ability, which is very powerful with his C90. His BT, remember, if you're going to be using his BT, the party effect is okay, but the selling point is the free skill uses for his C65 skill 1 and skill 2, and as well as having a faster charge rate for his EX. Now, sample team members that are possibly going to pair very well with him. Aura bots such as Bart's, for example, is fantastic for him because Bart's also has that Wind Imperil aura. I believe it comes from his, I think it's skill 2 or skill 1. Either one of those provide him that buff that has that Wind Imperil aura. And then the burst effect itself also Wind Enchants. And then if you have it at 3 stacks, it gives that powerful Brave Refund because Noel actually doesn't have a lot of Brave Refund himself. So that could definitely help him out. So he's Brave Refunding after every HP dump. And then another character that I think could work really, really well with him is actually Sephiroth. And the reason why is if you have Sephiroth's burst effect up, you know how it always sets the enemy's Brave to 1. You could, every time Noel's turn comes up, you can Fear Siphon, and then afterwards go right into his EX. So you could constantly abuse that EX, which is a very powerful skill, again, when Noel gets his C90. But all in all, that is going to be it for my very first Art of video. This one is the Art of Noel. Hopefully this video helps you guys out for the upcoming brand new upgrades that Noel is going to be getting in GLB Dissidia Omnia. Thank you guys again for watching. This is 40, the Broadway Saiyan signing out. Mahal, everyone.